Where do you see, or what is your current opinion on disinformation? And I mean, I suppose this is in terms of the big players that often get labelled. People like Alex Jones, David Icke, Michael Tsarian, Jordan Maxwell, or his other name, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But I suppose the question is, how many of the key players do you think are deliberate disinformation? Or, I mean, yeah, it's sort of an open question if you want to address that one.
I'll close it down a little bit, Theo. Have you become aware in your own mind, and we're not really going to ask you to specify, but have you got the feeling that there is disinformation going on? And if so, what particular field did you notice it in?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's, if you look at the burgeoning truth movement, and for instance, the number of people who have watched films like Loose Change, then anybody who's interested in not allowing this to develop into anything that would threaten their position would take some action to control it, because far better that you set up organisations to control it than somebody else does. Now, that doesn't mean that any of the people whose names you mentioned are part of such organisations, and I have no evidence that they are or that they're not. However, I would think that the chances are that there would be people who are deliberately set up to be shills or disinformation agents or whatever you want to call them. And I think, you know, that is why I think you need to not only question everything, but also question the questioners.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. And if any of our listeners out there want to, we've got a few more questions here. Just a reminder for our listeners, if you've got any questions, just log in and fire them away. A question from Jeff, which is, do you think David Cameron, can he really help Gary McKinnon?
Well, he can. Whether he will or not, or whether he'll find an excuse not to, I don't know. I would have thought, actually, that if the Americans had Gary McKinnon, he would not be in a cell. He would be working for the CIA, hacking into Russia's computers, for instance. And I think
this is why they want him. Yeah.
Well, it could well be the case, and it could also be the case that Cameron goes, hold on a second, why are we giving him to the Americans? We could use him at GCHQ. So,
I'm also... Sorry, carry on there.
I think it is quite interesting that Cameron spoke out about Israel today, about Operation Cast Lead and the way that they treat the people of Gaza. He was in Turkey today and almost sounded hopeful, I've got to say. You know, and I believe me, I'm no great supporter of David Cameron, but it was quite remarkable what he said about how wrong it was that Israel was treating Gaza Strip as a prison camp, and those are his words.
Absolutely, exactly. And this is a question I had for Ken O'Keefe last week, which was sort of along the lines of, it seems like we're almost being set up to hate Israel. It really does feel that way. I mean, they're going out there, the Zionist regime are going out there and committing some evil atrocities, and it just seems obvious that they're being set up as the fall guy. So, I mean, just to sort of, I guess, move things back onto a more positive light. We haven't spoken about Edge Media, controversial TV, and what sort of the ups and downs, because obviously recently we thought it was just going to end.
Well, I was about to actually, because a question come in, Theo, if we could leap to this. A few people are inquiring quite naturally, because I think there's a bit of confusion out there. Obviously, you ended with Edge Media doing the interview with David Icke, but then a rescue package of some sort seems to be coming along. Is there any light you can cast for those who are asking questions as to what might happen or what is happening?
Or what's going on, because we don't really
You may or may not be in the picture yourself, but is there anything you can add to it?
Well, the last show I did was with Jim Core and Ian R. Crane. Ian R. Crane is trying, and still trying, I spoke to him yesterday, to save Edge. But I actually don't have any information that is, particularly relevant right now. So I honestly can't comment on it. I honestly don't know if it can be saved, and that is the position. So I'm sorry, I don't know.
What created the problem? Because I don't really understand. Was it is it that funding's run out, or is it at the end of a contract period on a slot? That's the bit that I'm not too sure about.
It is a good deal more complicated than that. It is to do with the people who owned the station and other stations and a production facility and other assets,
Right.
and the relationship between those people.
Say no more. Wink,
And I
wink,
think
nudge,
that's all I
nudge.
can say, really.
No, that's fine. That answers the question, really, that we've been guessing from a few people.
Now we haven't got a great deal of time left, so we've got a couple of your tracks before we go. So before we play another track, I guess the question is if Edge was to end, do you think it's going to encourage people to start setting up their own mini sort of online production? Just trying to follow in the footsteps. How do you see that going?
Well, I think, there's all kind of possibilities that I've looked at. Getting on another channel is a possibility. Having a production from an established production company is a possibility. But to be frank, I don't think most of them would want to touch the subjects that I deal with. And if you look at some of the people, the directors of those companies, they are not the kind of people who would muddy their own political and social advantage by dipping their toes into the scary pond that is the truth movement. So I don't know. I mean, everything's up in the air in that respect.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move to another track now. This is one that I've put in. We give our guests 4 songs. Your closing song will come up at the end of the show. This one is Ziggy Stardust. This was me in a studio a number of weeks ago. Hell, I'm on the radio, so I'm going to put the bloody thing on. This is Ziggy Stardust.
Guitar, jamming good with Weird and Gillian and the Spiders from Mars. Well, he played it left hand, but he made it too far. Became the special man. Then we were Ziggy's band. Ziggy really sang, screwed up eyes and screwed down hair too. Like some cat from Japan, he could lick 'em by smiling, he could leave 'em to hand. Came on so loaded, man, well hung in a snow white tan. So where were the spiders, while the fly tried to break our walls? Just the to guide us, so we bitched about his fans and should we crash his sweet hands. Ziggy played for time, jiving us that we weren't voodoo. The kiss was just crass, and he was the nest with a God-given ass. He took it all too far, but boy, can he play guitar. Making love with his ego, Ziggy is sucked up into his mind, like a leper messiah. When the kids had killed the man, I had to break up the band.
before we get back on to our guest which is Theo Chalmers, just a reminder for all our listeners that tomorrow night, Vinny from TNS Radio will be hosting a show called Shoot the Breeze. And this is an opportunity for random listeners to call in and be part of the show. So do log in tomorrow on tnsradio.com, and you can be part of the show if you want to get involved there. So before we've got a little bit of leeway tonight to run over a little bit. So we're not in any massive rush to cram everything in 10 minutes. So, Mark, what were you wanting to talk about towards the end, bring Theo into?
Well, we've looked at various different angles and could go on forever with them because there are so many, but what it amounts to really is this body which has been called the New World Order. You have the Rothschilds, you have so many different elements to this. Theo, the New World Order. Now, I would imagine that you have a lot of insights, having spoken to so many people.
Well, I think, I hope that I do. I think when I read stuff that suggests actually it's not the New World Order we should be scared of. It's actually the guys who are in control now, who are effectively the old world order. If you think about it, they've been in control for hundreds of years. The people that rule this planet, and allegedly there are about 6,000 of them, they are effectively the old world order. Why would they want to change anything from the way it is already? They've got everything. They've got all the power, they've got all the money, they've got all the assets, and they've got us in servitude. So do they need a new world order? Or perhaps, it's just something else to distract us. Oh, look, the new world order is coming. Oh, we better be careful and watch out for that. The fact is, they control the world anyway. They don't really need one government. They've done it by dividing and ruling us. Do they need to put us all under one government and make it like one planet with one army and one police force?
Well, exactly.
I don't know. Make a difference.
Mike said earlier, we saw the economic collapse coming, and then it came, and it's not so bad, and so on. I would actually contradict that. I would say the collapse has happened. This is why we're having things like 45% cuts in all areas of government, and that's really just where it's going to begin. But it is happening, and what, in my opinion, with many years of research into this, is that we're being made afraid of a coming New World Order. Because they want us to respond to that. But the New World Order is actually being slotted into place now. It is a financial and economic order. It's that simple. And the solution will be presented. It will include single currency and so on, but maybe we'll move straight to a global currency. It's a purely economic thing, and from that, everything else will spread.
I guess just to quickly mention that before you dive into that one, Theo, I guess my point is that we talk about things happening and it's coming and it's going to be soon and get prepared. It never happens as fast as we say it does. It always takes longer, and it doesn't hit as hard as we think. Obviously, you can look at 2012 and say, look, there's a deadline, it's going to happen. So I guess my point is we can keep running around telling people what might happen and then look silly because it doesn't happen in 1 year, it takes 3 years.
I do see that. And I think, of course, these people who control the world will always use technology that comes along to their advantage. Like, for instance, having everybody chipped and everybody's bank account on their chip so that if they don't like you, they can turn it off and you can't buy anything. Of course they'd want that. The more control they can get, the better. But, financial crises, we've had lots of financial crises in the past. Currencies have collapsed, banks have collapsed. The people who end up holding all the assets when the music stops are the same people every time, and it's the same people this time. It's nothing new. It's not a new thing. It's the old thing just playing its course. We have a boom, we have a bust. We have a boom, we have a bust.